In 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was stabbed to death outside her apartment in New York City. The attack lasted over half an hour. 38 neighbors heard her screaming. Not one called the police. Not one came to help. For decades, people asked the same question: what kind of monster watches someone die and does nothing? But the real answer is far more disturbing. It wasn't monsters who watched Kitty Genovese die. It was ordinary people, just like you, just like me. So why does this happen? Two forces are at work inside the human brain. The first is called diffusion of responsibility. When you are alone and see someone in danger, the responsibility to act falls entirely on you. But the moment other people are present, that responsibility gets split between everyone watching. Each person thinks, someone else will handle it, someone else will call, someone else will help. And so nobody does. The second force is pluralistic ignorance. When something ambiguous happens, a man collapses, a fight breaks out, someone screams, we look at the people around us to figure out how to react. If everyone else looks calm, we assume it must not be serious. We don't want to be the person who overreacts. So we do nothing. And everyone else sees us doing nothing, and they do nothing too. A crowd of people, all silently convincing each other that everything is fine. While someone dies, this isn't just a laboratory experiment. The bystander effect shows up everywhere. In 2010, a man named Hugo Alfredo Tagliax collapsed on a sidewalk in New York after being stabbed. Over 25 people walked past him. Some stopped to look, some took photos. He lay there for over an hour before anyone called for help. He died on that sidewalk. In 2011, a 2-year-old girl named Wang Yue was struck by a van on a street in China. 18 people walked past her as she lay bleeding. Not one stopped. She died 2 days later. These aren't rare cases. They happen constantly, on streets, in schools, in offices, online. Every time someone is being bullied in a group chat and nobody says anything. Every time a crowd watches a fight and nobody steps in. The bystander effect is everywhere. There is another dimension to this that researchers discovered later. The bystander effect doesn't just affect strangers. It affects people who know each other too. In workplaces, employees watch colleagues being mistreated by managers. They see the unfairness. They feel the discomfort. But nobody speaks up, because everyone is waiting for someone else to be the first. In schools, entire classrooms watch one student being humiliated day after day. Every single student knows it's wrong. But the group stays silent. Because speaking up means standing out, and standing out feels dangerous. This is why bullying thrives in groups. Not because everyone agrees with the bully, but because the crowd gives everyone an excuse to stay silent. Psychologists call this the spiral of silence. The more people stay quiet, the more others assume that silence is the correct response. And so the silence grows, until it becomes deafening. There was a case in 2006 where a teenager named Ryan Halligan had been bullied online for months. Dozens of his classmates knew, some had even participated. When he took his own life, his parents discovered that hundreds of students had watched the bullying unfold in real time. Not one had told an adult. Not one had reached out to Ryan. The bystander effect had silenced an entire generation of witnesses. So what do you do with this information? Knowing about the bystander effect is actually the first step to overcoming it. Studies show that people who understand the effect are significantly more likely to help in an emergency. There is one technique that works better than anything else. If you ever witness an emergency and need help, don't shout, "Someone call an ambulance." Point at one specific person and say, "You, in the red jacket, call an ambulance now." The moment you single someone out, diffusion of responsibility disappears. They can no longer assume someone else will handle it. They have to act. The bystander effect is one of the most dangerous forces in human psychology. Not because it requires evil people, but because it turns ordinary, decent people into passive witnesses to suffering. The scariest part: you've probably already experienced it without even realizing it. If this changed how you see the world, subscribe. Next video we will explore further into human nature.